April the 7th. Your unfailing love, O Lord, is as vast as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches beyond the clouds. Psalms 36:5. Dear Lord, thank you for your amazing faithfulness and for your answered prayers. Thank you for your love, protection, and guidance. You are so good to me. Good morning. This is Sharon from the House of Prayer. You weren't rejected, but God was protecting you. You know those periods when it looked as though all the windows were locked, and as you were approaching each door, it was getting closed at each point, and you were wondering what exactly was going on. Things are not going as planned, and you feel like God is actually acting contrary to all He told you. At those points, there's a tendency to begin to doubt God's word and promises to you. But wait, sometimes what seems right to a man might actually be wrong. Do you remember God's word that says that there is a way that seemeth right to a man, but to the end there is destruction? That place you think is filled with good fruits might be filled with thorns, and the reaction is actually God's way of protecting your heart. The road there could lead to destruction. That place where it looks like you were rejected, there could be a pitfall right in front of you. However, man is short-sighted and cannot see ahead. God, who directs the path of His children, prevents you from getting employed into that organization so you can't fall into that pitfall. Imagine when you're working in an organization where you constantly have to compromise on your principles. Your work under a boss who asks you to edit the financial bills or influence some statistical data on some fraudulent act punishable by law. It's only a matter of time before you're caught or imprisoned. Your Father sees that, but you don't. The road might not lead to your expected outcome. God says the thoughts that He has toward you, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you an expected end. You must come to the point where you see that there has God's hands in it. Would definitely lead to an expected end. He is not a man that He should lie, or the Son of Man to change His words. Just imagine being in a relationship that was meant to lead to marriage. All of a sudden, the person calls off the engagement. This could look like intentional affliction of a person with pain. But could you look at the big picture and remember that you're in God's hands? You are not trying to fast forward things yourself, but are waiting for His time. His promise for you is to give you an expected end. Conducting a marriage with that person might at that point have been like heaven and earth, but that might not have been God's perfect plan for your life. Do you want to shortchange it? I doubt you do. That road might not have worked in hand with God's plan for you and your life. Do you remember that God's word says He causes all things to work together for good to them that love God and are called according to His purpose? Do you love God? Are you His son or daughter? If yes, great. God's word assures you that whatever happens, He would turn it around for your good. However, God wouldn't wait and watch you making all sorts of mistakes, because the more the mistakes, the longer it takes God to remap and cause it to work together for your good. So rather than let you make those mistakes, He forestalls the making of the mistakes. Imagine bidding for a contract. On the surface level would have made you a lot of money. But then, after hard work and smart works, you do not get the contract. And the thoughts of doubting God comes into place. Can you take a child and ask Him? The issue is many times you forget that God is all-knowing and all-seeing. You can never tell if He already saw you would run at a loss. If you embarked on that project and impeded you from getting it. If only God can give us reasons for all of His actions or decisions, or better still, we had access to seeing God's direct heart, then maybe we would remember that we really had no cause for alarm, because your Father, being a good super dad, then that road that seemed smooth might actually be filled with a lot of potholes that could actually slow down your progress in life. That big news that seems like a promotion might actually be a growth control agent. For instance, you get promoted at your place of work, and this work is bound to get you so busy that you barely have time for personal reading of God's Word and praying. As if that is not enough, even your Sunday or your Sabbath is not excluded. Thus, you won't be able to attend church services anymore. While that promotion might be an answered prayer, God could be showing you that it's a trap of the enemy, and the end is not usually good, because it would be similar to starting over again. Would God really watch you go through it? No. God could cause a rejection in order to hasten your step to being where He wants you to be. He could use that rejection as a means of redirection to cause you to look elsewhere. Have you thought to think that maybe God is redirecting you? It's usually said that when God closes a window, look around. There's a door not far ahead. A rejection could mean a better opportunity for an upliftment from God. Do you remember the story of Obadiah? He was considered a rejected man, someone whom people would not expect to amount to anything important in life. This prompted the children of Israel to take the ark of God into His house, thinking it doesn't matter whether he lives or dies. However, we see God turn that rejection around into success for him. So in many cases that seem like rejection, not only can God be protecting you, He can also be redirecting your attention to something better. As long as God's children ask Him for direction in prayer, God is bound to direct and clear any form of direction that can cost them a lot. Unless you want to take the wheel, and control your own vehicle, then you can have God stepping back and watching you do your own thing. Otherwise, trust God when you are rejected. Why? Because He's got the plan.